Tonight on Hotty Toddy News, the university has released its plan for how coronavirus vaccines will be distributed on campus. And a winter weekend, WTVA meteorologist Joel Young gets us prepared for inclement weather. And love is in the air as Oxford businesses prepare for Valentine's Day. More coming up. Stay tuned.
From the School of Journalism and New Media on the campus of the University of Mississippi, this is Hotty Toddy News.
Good evening and thank you for tuning in to Hotty Toddy News. I'm AJ Norwood. Recently, university leaders announced a location change for its newly implemented COVID-19 testing on campus. The free testing was previously held in the Ford Center parking lot, but now has been converted to walk-in testing at the University Oxford Depot. And more on vaccines. The university is planning to distribute vaccines at the Tad Smith Coliseum. Grayson Gordon tells us how the facility will function and who will get priority.
Campus is hoping to administer 500 vaccines a day at the Tad Smith Coliseum. Clinical Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice, Lauren Bloodsworth, has been working to make sure the facility is ready.
We have a portion of the concourse marked off at the Tad Smith Coliseum where patients will begin at entrance and check in and then go to a vaccination station.
After signing up online, this is where each person will wait to receive their vaccine. These 8 stations are available for getting the vaccine, 1 person and 1 pharmacy student. After each person will wait here for 15 minutes to be monitored. These doors is where you'll exit after finishing up that 15-minute waiting period. Now all you have to do is monitor those symptoms. You can do that using the After Vaccination Health Checker vSafe app. And for those who receive the vaccine, the first priority is for individuals 65 and older or with underlying conditions. Then it will open up to university staff and faculty. This is ultimately dependent on the number of vaccines the university receives.
Now, these categories and strategies are in alignment with the CDC's recommendations for how to prioritize the first available vaccines.
The facility will be open from 8:30 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, extending hours until 6:30 every Wednesday. Grayson Gordon, Hotty Toddy News.
Thanks, Grayson. We are working to learn when the vaccines will be distributed. And with vaccination numbers on the rise, the university is looking to maximize the number of vaccines it can distribute by training pharmacy students to administer them. Maddie Bornfleth has more on how some pharmacy students are learning to work the needles for the first time.
An important part of the University of Mississippi's vaccination efforts are pharmacy students, who are going through extensive training. Student McKinley Wooten is just at the beginning of her education in pharmacy, but says she's getting trained alongside more experienced students.
We are now certified, and they taught us how to administer other vaccines versus COVID, because COVID's a little bit different, and the Pfizer and the Moderna's both different, and they taught us exactly how to draw it up, and you have to freeze it and all of that. They taught us everything, so we're prepared for when the vaccine arrives on campus.
In previous years, student pharmacists have administered other vaccines such as flu shots. Provost Noel Wilkins says these experiences will transfer well to administering the COVID-19 vaccine.
So they have firsthand knowledge of how these are stored, how they're administered, and how to complete the necessary reports.
Associate Professor of Pharmacy Practice Lauren Bloodworth is confident that the vaccine will only take hours thanks to the university student pharmacist.
We've already had them volunteering for those so that when the time comes, we will just be able to say, they're here and ready, and we'll be ready to go as well.
It's unclear how many vaccines will be available to the university at this time, but the university is training as many students as possible to get the community vaccinated quickly. Maddie Bornfleth, Hotty Toddy News.
Thanks, Maddie. And across the country, those administering vaccines have been faced with the challenge of fighting racial disparities in distribution. Here at home, only 19% of those vaccinated are Black. Now, a hospital in Holly Springs is focused on making sure minorities are able to receive vaccines. Matthew Henley has more on this hospital's big plan.
Alliance Healthcare Systems Hospital in Holly Springs is the only Black privately owned hospital in the state, and it's breaking down access barriers for the local residents as one of the few rural facilities with vaccines available.
So we just keep moving, trying to get everybody, as many people vaccinated as possible. So right now we're stocked.
Mississippi has one of the highest black populations in the country, yet the second lowest black vaccination rate. According to the Mississippi Department of Health, just 19% of those who have received the vaccine are African American, which Holly Springs Mayor Kelvin Buck attributes to barriers to health care, such as a lack of rural health facilities.
I think that will contribute some to the disparity between the numbers. And then there is some hesitant, some people in the community, African American community, who are a little reluctant to take the shot for a number of reasons, historical and current reasons.
But Alliance has been vaccinating people in Holly Springs since Christmas, receiving a total of 900 first doses and 400 second doses.
Alliance vaccinates around 67 people per day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. Now, the cars behind me are lined up to receive their second dose of the vaccine. Many have called concerned that the hospital would run out of second doses, but Alliance says that everyone who has received a first dose of the vaccine, the Mississippi State Health Department automatically sends the second dose to the hospital.
Don't worry about your second dose, just get here to get your first dose, and we'll try to do our best to take care of that second dose for you.
In addition to access barriers like long driving distances, some have been hesitant to be the first ones to get the vaccine. In fact, black adults are one of the most likely groups to wait and see how the vaccine does for other people before getting it. Mayor Buck says he got the vaccine to set an example for the community.
The other reason that I did it is because I really wanted to get the shot, and I believe in the science that has gone behind it.
But many Holly Springs residents...
So how do you feel now that your mom's going to be vaccinated?
I feel great.
Eager to get vaccinated.
And, just feel like the shot is effective and, it will help to slow the virus.
Alliance says they'll continue to take care of Holly Springs residents.
Are you nervous at all?
No.
And distribute vaccines until they run out.
How do you feel, Miss Jeffries?
Fine.
In Holly Springs, Matthew Henley, Hotty Toddy News.
And thanks, Matthew. Within the last week, the Lafayette County community has seen a significant drop in newly confirmed cases. In fact, in the state's latest report, there were only 8 new coronavirus cases. As coronavirus cases are decreasing, vaccinations are increasing, and so is traffic along Sisk Avenue where vaccines are being distributed. Oxford police ask you to avoid this area if possible. And with more people on the roadways, the Mississippi Highway Patrol released a new safety campaign today with a goal to combat teen driving fatalities in Mississippi. The Driving Requires Initiative Values in Education campaign, also known as the DRIVE campaign, has been implemented because of an increase in statewide teen driving fatalities in 2020. According to the Highway Patrol, 70 teenagers were killed last year due to traffic crashes across the state. Compare that to 49 in 2019. But as of right now, the MHP is still facing challenges on safely presenting the new program due to COVID-19. Another big story this week is the ever-changing forecast for this weekend. We checked in with WTVA meteorologist Joel Young to find out what kind of weather we need to prepare for.
Be a quick update on the forecast for Oxford. Right now, it looks like Oxford stays just warm enough to avoid the winter weather for tonight and tomorrow. That's a different story for folks just north of Oxford. Maybe Holly Springs, definitely the Memphis area where ice storm warnings are in effect. Those areas could certainly get some significant ice accumulations there. So travel north of Oxford is looking much more questionable for the next couple of days. We're going to see some heavy rain though tonight, going through much of the day on Thursday. With that, there could be some areas of sleet. Temperatures will certainly be cold enough for that, but not necessarily accumulations. Now, going into Thursday night, temperatures start to slip below freezing, and if any moisture lingers Thursday night, there could be some accumulating ice there. But going into Friday, it looks like we dry out. Going into the weekend, it gets a lot colder, and early next week, it gets a lot colder as well. Those temperatures may not get above freezing for several days into early next week, and models do suggest that we could get multiple rounds of precip there as well. So for now, overall things look pretty good, other than maybe Thursday night there could be a little bit of icing, but of course we'll have updates in the coming days.
An unusually cold forecast will make for some freezing lines outside the bars this weekend, lines that have been growing this semester despite rising cover charges. Caroline Chrysler has more on the story.
Bars in Oxford are up and running after lockdown, but many were surprised to see the new cover charge.
Really annoying that they do have like these long lines going and that the covers are so high that like no one can really afford that.
Cover charge to enter bars in Oxford used to be $5, but lately the cover charge is $40 to $60 per night. With COVID limiting capacity, there is less space to sit, and once lines form, the cover begins.
I have class and I have a job, and I like normally get off at like 4 or 5, so then I'm not able to like go to the bars, and I cannot pay that cover because it's so ridiculous.
An anonymous student opened social media accounts to organize a strike against the bars. They expressed what Grace Jones says to be an almost unanimous agreement within the student body.
I have a bunch of friends that have followed it and like reposted it, put it on their Instagram stories to try and get more people in the Oxford area like more aware of like the situation at hand, and I've read like all the articles about it too, and I definitely follow up with what they're saying all the time.
Students have seen some change in cover charges after many have began to skip out on bars altogether, but many are concerned if they go out again, that will change. If you're a student in Oxford, you may want to consider this. Some bars offer a $100 card that gets you in free, no cover charge for a year. Caroline Chrysler, Hotty Toddy News.
Lines are growing across the Oxford community as well as on campus. Students have been gathering around the new Blends Bowls truck to try the new Smoothie Bowls. Chauncey Taylor has more on why this new venue is so popular among students.
Ole Miss students are lining up in groups for the newest food spot on campus, Blends Bowls. Blends is a food truck based out of Tuscaloosa that specializes in smoothie bowls and acai. Co-owner Zach Rogers says while the company has been trying to expand, moving to the University of Mississippi has been a great idea.
Business here is doing very good. We've had a good reaction from the students here. We don't really care about like the financial stuff as much as we care about like making people happy and having them come to the truck and having a good experience.
The truck is located directly in front of the Union and has another location outside of Weir Hall. For many students like Ole Miss freshman Kasia Hosey, it is the convenience that draws them in.
I come every week because it's convenient for me. I'm on science all day, and so when I come to campus, the truck moves from either here or the Grove, and so it's just in my way anyway.
As you can tell, many students are excited to see that Blends Smoothie Bowls has made it to campus. And you can get a smoothie from 9 to 4 p.m. every day of the week. And on top of that, you can use your flex. This has been Chauncey Taylor, Hotty Toddy News.
Valentine's Day is on the horizon, and businesses around Oxford are pushing special deals for the most romantic day of the year. Tyranny Key has the story.
As Valentine's Day is approaching, restaurants in Oxford are already preparing for the day. But this year, the dining experience will look different. Southern Crafts and Stovetop manager Bubba Crafts says that seating will be arranged in a zigzag pattern to allow social distancing.
Being that it's going to be Valentine's Day, I don't see a whole lot of double dating going on that night. Most of the time it'll just be you and your Valentines.
Graff says the restaurant will be accommodating people with reservations only, and they will offer a limited menu.
And so we do have it set up on limited seating that we can accommodate everyone with 2 tops, of course. We're looking forward to that.
Oxford Creamery and High Rose Donut employee Jacob Christian says the store will be offering sweet bundles as a special, just to spice things up.
You can order chocolate covered strawberries by half dozen and dozen over the phone leading up to Valentine's Day.
Oxford Creamery has also specialized their donut menu to go along with Valentine's Day.
Donuts are concerned, we already brought out, introduced some Valentine's Day flavors for the donuts.
With Valentine's Day quickly approaching, you can stop at local restaurants like Oxford Creamery and get your loved ones sweets and more. I'm Tyranny Key reporting for Hotty Toddy News.
Thanks, Tyranny. And during the most romantic time of the year in the middle of a pandemic, Google searches for wedding rings are at an all-time high. Grace Marion has more.
Google Trends reported this week that search interest in wedding rings is higher than ever before, both internationally and within the United States. The manager of Van Atkins Jewelry, Van Atkins, says that despite having their doors closed for about 10 weeks, his store hasn't suffered much.
Because, love doesn't stop just because everything else does. But we picked up and we broke even to where we were last year, so we think we would have been ahead, more than likely.
Van Atkins speculates that the high interest in engagement rings may be a result of COVID-19 restrictions.
I think it's just discretionary income that wasn't used for clothes and traveling, and it was a long years. I mean, it's a treat you gift, I guess. Treat yourself.
Recently engaged student Justin Class says that he thinks the increase might be a result of COVID-19 stay-at-home orders keeping couples at home together.
We are from different states, so we were doing a lot of long distance, but we have definitely grown closer since being back, just because it frees up a lot of time throughout the week, and even with our online classes, we can post up somewhere and do those together.
Despite the increased interest in Google search trends about wedding rings, searches for weddings themselves haven't really fluctuated beyond the norm, with the peak searches still coinciding with the royal weddings. For Hotty Toddy News, I'm Grace Marion.
Thanks, Grace. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Hotty Toddy News. I'm AJ Norwood. Thank you and have a wonderful week.